Welcome back to my channel. This will be the first part of season 2 of What If Goku Was Invincible. If you end up enjoying the video, consider liking and subscribing. This will encourage me to continue stories like these. After the battle with Omni-Man, life on Earth slowly began returning to normal. At least as normal as life could be when one of the planet's greatest heroes had been exposed as a conqueror from a galactic empire. The world was still reeling from the truth. Yet before the next crisis could arrive, there was one loose end that needed to be addressed. Nolan Grayson, deep beneath the surface of the earth, inside one of the GDA's most secure facilities, Omni-Man remained imprisoned. Powerful restraints bound his body, layers of security surrounded him. Dozens of contingency plans were in place in case he ever escaped. Unfortunately for Cecil Stedman, none of those plans accounted for Kakarot desiring to let him out. The Saiyan arrived at the facility and freed Nolan from his confinement, much to Cecil's immediate frustration. From Cecil's perspective, it was insanity. From Kakarot's perspective, it was necessary. Nolan had chose to stand against the Viltrumite Empire. Keeping him locked away accomplished nothing, while a much greater threat loomed over the galaxy. Soon afterward, Mark and Kakarot sat down with their father one final time. The atmosphere was tense. There was still pain, still betrayal, still years of trust needed rebuilding, but there was also honesty. Nolan was completely truthful with his sons. He revealed that the books he had written over the years were more than simple adventures and observations. Hidden throughout these books were clues, information and weaknesses, knowledge regarding the Viltrumite Empire itself. These books have been carefully written so that anyone reading them casually would never notice, but someone looking deeper could uncover valuable information about Viltrumite biology, culture, and vulnerabilities. Nolan instructed his sons to study them carefully. Every detail mattered. Every clue could one day save lives. The war against the Viltrumites was coming. Preparation would be everything. Nolan also understood something else. Earth no longer viewed him as a hero. To many, he was a murderer, a traitor, and a monster. And perhaps most painful of all, Debbie wanted nothing to do with him. The woman he had genuinely come to love wanted him gone. For centuries, Nolan had conquered worlds without regret, yet losing his family hurt more than any battle ever had. He knew there was nothing left for him on Earth. Not anymore. His next destination will be planet Telescria. The coalition of planets needed experienced fighters. They needed intelligence. And despite everything he had done, Nolan intended to spend the rest of his life helping destroy the empire he once served. With little fanfare, Nolan departed Earth. Neither Mark nor Kakarot knew if they would ever see him again, but both hoped that this journey would finally allow their father to become a better man. Days passed and Earth remained peaceful for a while. Then Cecil received troubling news. The Mauler twins had escaped prison. Once again, at this point, nobody was even surprised. The blue-skinned criminal geniuses had a habit of breaking out of confinement whenever they pleased. Normally, that alone would be concerning, but this situation was different. The Maulers weren't robbing banks, they weren't building armies, they weren't conducting cloning experiments. Instead, they were helping someone conduct a machine, and according to intelligence gathered by the GDA, the machine was potentially catastrophic. The inventor's name was Angstrom Levy, a brilliant scientist with an impossible dream. A dream that could threaten reality itself. Cecil wasted no time. Mark and Kakarot were immediately dispatched. Their mission was simple: find the Mauler twins, stop whatever was happening, contain any threats. The brothers quickly took to the skies. Within minutes, they located the warehouse where the operation was taking place. What they found inside was unlike anything they had ever seen. The warehouse had been transformed into a massive laboratory. Strange machinery filled every corner. Energy crackled through cables and conduits. At the corner of it all sat dozens of identical men. Each occupied a specialized chair connected to an enormous machine. Every single one of them was Angstrom Levy. Variants, versions of the same individual from alternate realities, hundreds of lifetimes, hundreds of experiences, hundreds of worlds, all gathered together. The purpose was simple. Angstrom wanted to combine the knowledge and memories of every version of himself. He believed doing so would give him the necessary wisdom to solve countless problems across the multiverse. He dreamed of creating a utopia, a reality where suffering no longer existed. It was a noble goal, but a dangerous one. The process had already begun, and then Mark and Kakarot arrived. The moment the brothers entered the warehouse, chaos followed. The Mauler twins immediately moved to intercept them. Mark wasted no time. He charged straight into battle, punches echoed through the facility. The Maulers fought back, but they were hopelessly outmatched. Meanwhile, Angstrom noticed the confrontation unfolding. Panic spread across his face. The process wasn't complete. Interrupting it now would have catastrophic consequences. Unfortunately, there was no way for Mark to know that. From his perspective, supervillains were operating a dangerous machine. Stopping them was the obvious choice. The fight intensified. One Mauler was launched through multiple walls. Another crashed to laboratory equipment. The machine began fluctuating dangerously. Alarms activated throughout the facility. Angstrom desperately attempted to maintain control, yet everything was spiraling out of control. Then things became even stranger. Alternate versions of the Mauler twins began arriving from different realities, using portals, one after another. Suddenly, the warehouse was filled with Maulers, dozens of them. For an ordinary hero, that might have been overwhelming, but for Kakarot, it was barely an inconvenience. The Saiyan stepped forward, his aura ignited, and the battle became laughably one-sided. Mauler after Mauler charged him. Mauler after Mauler was sent flying. Some crashed through walls, others were buried deep beneath rubble. Several never even landed a hit. Compared to Kakarot's power, the Maulers stood no chance. The gap between them was almost comical. If Kakarot was a hydrogen bomb, the Mauler twins were coughing babies. Every attack they launched was effortlessly swatted aside. Every strategy collapsed immediately. The warehouse transformed into a battlefield of destruction. Unfortunately, that destruction was exactly what Angstrom had been trying to avoid. Angstrom never wanted violence. He never wanted bloodshed. He never wanted heroes and villains tearing each other apart around his machine. His dreams had always been bigger than that. He wanted to help people, to learn from countless realities, to use that knowledge to improve existence itself. Now he watched hopelessly as everything fell apart. The machine became increasingly unstable. The power level surged beyond safe limits. Angstrom faced a terrible choice: continue the process and risk complete catastrophe, or stop it early and pray for the best. He chose the latter. It would prove the worst decision of his life. The transfer was terminated prematurely. Then the machine exploded. A wave of energy erupted outward. The blast consumed everything. Walls disintegrated. Machinery vaporized. Alternate Angstroms were instantly killed. Countless Mauler variants perished. The entire facility vanished between a storm of destruction. Mark and Kakarot were unaffected. The warehouse collapsed into itself. Smoke billowed into the sky. Debris rained down across the surrounding area. The threat appeared neutralized. Mission was accomplished, or so they thought. With no obvious survivors and no indication of further danger, the brothers departed the scenes. Neither realized what had truly happened inside. Hours later, movement stirred within the wreckage. Against all odds, one of the original Mauler twins had survived, barely. His body was battered, burned, and broken, but he remained alive. As he reached through the devastation, he found Angstrom Levy, and what he saw was horrifying. The explosion had not killed Angstrom. Instead, it had transformed him. The scientist's body had become grotesquely mutated. His skull was enlarged and distorted, but the physical damage was only part of the problem. The mental damage was far worse. Because the transfer had been interrupted, thousands upon thousands of memories now existed inside his mind. Different lives, different worlds, different experiences, all competed for control. Angstrom could no longer distinguish between memories that belonged to him. His identity fractured beneath the weight of multiple realities. Then came the most dangerous part, the memories. Among these countless alternative lives and realities where Invincible was a monster. Worlds where alternate versions of Mark Grayson had conquered the planet. Worlds where entire civilizations had been slaughtered. Worlds drowned in blood. Angstrom saw everything, and in his damaged state, he couldn't separate those versions of the Mark he had just met. To him, they became the same person, the same threat, the same villain, and the same monster. As his sanity deteriorated, Angstrom's grief transformed into hatred, hatred transformed into obsession, and obsession found a target, Invincible and Kakarot. In his fractured mind, they were responsible for everything. His ruined body, his destroyed dream, the deaths of countless alternate selves, the loss of the utopia he had hoped to create. Logic no longer mattered. Only vengeance remained. The surviving Mauler watched as Angstrom struggled to his feet. A glowing portal formed nearby. The scientist who had once dreamed of saving worlds now sought revenge instead. And thanks to his multiple unique abilities, revenge would not be limited to a single universe. Angstrom stepped into the portal, his mutated face twisted with rage. Infinite realities stretched before him, infinite possibilities, infinite opportunities to make Mark Grayson and Kakarot suffer. Then, without hesitation, he disappeared. The portal closed behind him. Silence followed. Far away, Mark and Kakarot continued their lives completely unaware of what they had just unleashed. They believed the mission was over. Another crisis had been resolved. Another threat had been stopped. A new enemy had been born, one unlike any they had ever faced before, but a man broken by tragedy and driven by vengeance. And unlike most enemies, Angstrom Levy possessed something infinitely more dangerous than raw power. He possessed endless worlds, endless resources, and endless versions of reality to exploit. The storm was coming, and neither Invincible nor Kakarot had any idea just how devastating it would become. Angstrom Levy had been created, and Nolan has left Earth to join the coalition. But what happens when a man with access to infinite realities decides to make Kakarot and Invincible his personal enemies? That's a story for the next episode of What If Goku Was Invincible. If you ended up enjoying the video, consider liking and subscribing to see more videos like this one.